Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Doug Show. My name's Doug Cunnington, and in this episode, I talked to Jake Thomas about his niche site. I spoke to him earlier this year, probably like March or so of 2022, and he was doing awesome with his site. And we won't mention the exact blog, but he'll tell us the specific niche coming up. So he was doing great after just a few years, was able to quit his old full-time job and work on niche sites full-time. And it was a very popular interview, a really amazing story. So we're going to get an update, and we're recording kind of in mid-October 2022. So Jake, thanks for joining me. I don't know all the details, but I'm excited to learn. So how's it going today?
It's going great, Doug. How are you doing?
Really good. It's like I said, October, so we're kind of getting a little fall weather. It's cooling off a little bit. And I was going to say, it's cooling off where you are, but it's kind of storm season. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? We were chatting before we hit record.
Yeah. So I live in like the Tampa Bay area, and thankfully we just missed the hurricane. Unfortunately for those south of us, they got rocked. It looked like, but yeah, a little rainy over here, but it's all good now.
All right. Well, let's get into all the details here. Where are you at with your site as far as like traffic and revenue and just what's been going on? And we'll back into some other details in case people didn't watch the other interview. We'll link to it, of course, but yeah, what are the like core stats right now?
All right, so it's a dog blog, and it's about a specific breed of dog, and I'm just kind of like headspace where I'm at. Um, I think we talked about this last time, is that I just keep getting distracted and like excited and like a little bit of like shiny object syndrome and stuff. But but it's been like old faithful for me. It's it's still doing well. It's still growing. So let's see. Just looking up at Google Analytics here. This in September. So in September 2022, I was at 72,000. And then let's see, September of 2021, I was at 62,000. So a little bit of growth there. And just, I had a good summer. I had a really crummy summer in 2021, but I had a really good summer in 2022. So I believe, what was there a Google update in like May or June? Was that right?
That sounds right. I think there was one in May, I think.
Yeah, that smiled on me very 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 much.
Nice.
In July of 2021, I had 56,000, and then in July of 2022, I had 84,000 visitors. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, so
Okay.
I was very very thankful for that. That is the reason I do not like YouTube. Is not YouTube, Google. Is that sometimes it doesn't go as well. So, but this time I got lucky, and yeah, so traffic has been up this summer. Things are going great.
Awesome. And can you share some revenue numbers as well?
Yeah, so we talked in March or April.
Something like that.
So January 2022, I had my highest month ever. It was like 6,000 something. And that, obviously like 90% of that is profit. And in July, I had my first $10,000 month.
Awesome.
So that was exciting. Yeah, I was very excited to see that. I did add a YouTube channel, and YouTube started taking off around April or May, so that it's started growing pretty quickly, and it's kind of leveled out since then, gone down a little bit. But so yeah, I did 10,000 in July, 9,000 in wait no 10,000 in June, 9,000 July. No, I'm messing these up.
That's okay.
Sorry, 10,000 in July, 9,000 in August, and then like 7,500 in September.
Okay. And what do you attribute the sort of decline? Because like the traffic's up. So what was going on with that?
So traffic was up. I think that a lot of my like affiliate blog posts were ranking better. So like best brushes, best collars, best harnesses, that kind of stuff. I think that those were much higher. So like my Amazon revenue, I normally make like $700 from Amazon, and then over the summer and kind of like these past few months, I made like between like 1,400 to like 1,000. So that was up almost double from last year. So that was huge,
Okay.
obviously. And then also YouTube was driving a lot of ebook sales. So I sell an ebook, and it seems like people buy like, at least in my experience, and I only have like, it's like a $10 ebook, but more people on YouTube are buying than on the blog.
Okay. Interesting. Why do you think that is? Any theories?
Uh, so I have noticed definitely on YouTube is that people do what you ask them to do. So if you say, "Hey, download my lead magnet," they will do that. And then if you
Okay.
say, "Hey, buy my book," they will do that. If you say, "Hey, subscribe," they will do that. Obviously you don't want to have like too many CTAs, but, and I don't know if it's because like if you're reading, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you're reading, you can kind of skim over like a CTA, but if you're listening, you have to hear me say, check out this ebook, or
Right.
download this lead magnet. So you have to hear me say that, and I'm wondering if that's what it is.
Interesting. Yeah, I would not have thought that, but after you mentioned it, if I'm reading a page and I see a call to action or an ad, I see that it is not what I'm interested in and I'll skip over it. If someone integrates their ad or their call to action, as it is in this case, pretty well with the content and it fits, then I could see it converting really well. The other part is I wonder if it's the exact right audience on YouTube. So they do have a problem. They're trying to get more information. They like the video format, but I know they know there's a little bit more. Or maybe you mentioned like, hey, we can't go into full depth right now, even though you could make like a 3 hour long video if you wanted to. But you're like, hey, get the written word over here, and then you'll be able to download the ebook and read it on your phone when you're in the bathroom or whatever. Don't use that call to action. Probably not super effective, but that's cool. So it's just a $10 ebook, and you'll pitch it in one of your videos, right?
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and I've kind of mixed up pitching. I have like a potty training cheat sheet. Like just download it. It's a free lead magnet, and then $10. It's like puppy raising ebook kind of thing. And definitely whichever one. I usually don't do both. I usually 10
Smart.
videos are about 10 minutes long, and I plug the CTA. Asking for one of those two in about the middle. When it makes sense. But yeah, and I mean, because it's not search traffic either. It's kind of like disruptive traffic. So, as opposed to like search intent, it's entertainment. Like 10 things dogs hate or whatever. Stuff like that. And I'm getting like sales and leads from that. It could be a volume thing too.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's different. And it's
Okay.
been interesting now.
So we'll come back to YouTube, and you're actually going to join me for another episode talking about some analysis that you've done on the YouTube side. You're a bit of a nerd with that sort of thing, studying creators and such. So people keep an eye out for that episode. So I do want to go back because a lot of people didn't hear the first interview. So who are you? What do you do, or what did you do before you started working on niche sites full time? Just so we can get a little bit of like biography from you.
Yeah. I guess I'm kind of sort of like a marketer, like at heart. Um, I've done kind of everything in marketing. I've, media buying. So I like worked at a Facebook ad agency. I've done web design. I was, managing a blog for a fishing company, and also managing their Facebook ads and their YouTube channel. And so I started this dog blog to learn SEO, because this is my first job actually like managing a real blog. I had kind of played with that stuff in the past, but I was like, all right, well, the best way to learn is to just do it, right? And I'm way more motivated to learn when it's something that I own. And so it was a cool project for me to do, while I was managing the fishing blog, and and I learned about SEO much quicker than I would have if it was just doing part of my job. So then I quit my job last summer, so summer of 2021, and it was a little bit of it was a big leap of faith, because I wasn't quite making like as much money as I needed to. Thankfully, my wife has a good paying job, so that definitely helped. But I had saved up some money to kind of get me through that gap of like, all right, I'm not going to be making enough, that much money these next few months. And then I hit my first $10,000 month, like I said, this past summer. So that was the leap of faith paid off.
When you quit, percentage wise or like number of months, how much did you save up? How much runway did you have? And you don't have to say the specific amount, but just how many months perhaps?
So I had like $25,000 saved up.
Okay.
So it wasn't that much, but but it also wasn't nothing. So
Right.
it was a couple months. Then I started paying myself like from that nest egg. I started paying myself a couple $1,000s a month. So and also it wasn't that much, but it was something, probably a little less than half of what my job was paying me.
Okay.
Um,
Got it.
so between like the nest egg and my wife's job and me paying myself half, we we made it. It
Right.
wasn't very comfortable. She wasn't the most excited about me getting a 50% pay cut, um, but
Yeah.
but here we are.
Right. And then at the time that you quit, do you happen to remember ballpark like what your monthly revenue from the niche site was?
Like I was very happy with a $4,000 month. Like
Okay.
all of 2021, if I made 4,000, I was pumped. I think in November, December, I made like 6,000, but for the most part, I was doing 3.5 to 4.5 thousand.
Okay. Cool. Which is awesome. I mean, from a valuation standpoint, you're probably at something like 150 to 200,000 or something if you were to sell the site, even though like, you're getting less per month than your old job. It must have been nice when you were doubling up,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, and you were able to save the money. So that's cool. And then did you have any benchmarks where you were like, I need to make X amount in X amount of time, or I need to figure out something else to do, or like get the job again? Or did you have kind of a delineation mark or anything?
A little bit. I quit. I put my it turned out to be like a month long notice in like beginning of July. So my last day was like July 31st, and I told myself, all right, by the end of the month, or the end of the year, so I'll have 6 months. I need to be making at least as much as I was, um, at my job. So I gave myself 6 months to go from making half of what I was making at my job to making what I was making at my job.
Got it.
And I hit it, but I was still not paying myself like that much. Um, we were doing okay, like family income. We weren't definitely we weren't balling out, but we were getting by. And I don't know. I just always kind of wanted that little like nest egg to be sitting there in the business, in case something bad happened, or in case I wanted to launch a product or something. I wanted a couple $1,000s saved up there so that I can make that move. Um, so thankfully, it's crazy how it worked out. We My wife got a new job like 2 months after I quit, and she got a raise that was pretty much equal to like the pay cut that I got. So like our household income was just the same, even though
That's awesome.
she's making more and I'm like making half.
Got it. That's good. You married well. Nice job.
Yes, she's amazing. I'm very thankful for her.
So crazy thing, my last day at my last job, it was July 21st, 2015. Or not 21st, 31st, 2015, because they lay you off at the end of the month typically. So that was my last day.
You
And
got laid off?
I did. I got laid off,
Wow.
and yeah, there's longer story, but it turned out to be absolutely fine. In a similar way, I was like, oh, this is my chance. My income wasn't as high as yours was at the time that I got laid off, and I didn't set up the specific deadline like that. But it took a few months to get things in place. But roughly like the same time, I was actually telling someone recently, like, after I think like a couple months, I was making like enough, like close to replacement income, but not quite. And then after 6 months, it was like safely there, and I felt like a lot more confident. Which is it's really quick, but the thing is, like you were doing it for a couple years at the time that you quit, and I was working on my sites and other side ventures for a couple years also. So really, like 3 years, right?
Yeah. I
Okay.
think 2.5. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you
Perfect.
want to quit, or like did you?
Technically a little bit, but it was a good job that I had a lot of autonomy with really good benefits. So I probably would not have quit because I was talking to my wife the other day. Like it's the kind of situation where it needs to be a lot better or a lot worse. It was in a comfortable, complacent area where it was like, I can handle the bullshit and it's not that great. And I'm not going to get promoted for like, if I could possibly make it to like a director level, it would have been another 5 or 7 years. And it
Yeah.
was just, draining. So it wasn't bad enough and it wasn't good enough, but it was just the worst place you could be to like select inaction. So I wouldn't have quit. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to quit for like a year, maybe a year and a half. So it's interesting that you were forced to take the leap, and it took me a long time to take the leap.
Right. Well, one thing I did, and I've been thinking about how to frame this exactly, but here's like this sort of the light version of it. But there's like the quiet quitting movement that you probably heard a little bit about.
Yeah.
So I've just seen some headlines, but I'm like lightly familiar. And I am pretty sure I was doing this for, several years, maybe like 2007 until I got laid off or so, maybe even 2006. But one thing that I did, I had a lot of friends in the military that I would hang out with, or they were out of the military, but they had the background. So I was like, I have this team. I had like 10 people reporting to me. I basically delegated everything that I could possibly delegate to the team. And it sounds super lazy, but it actually helps the team because then they can get promoted. They can say,
Yeah.
I'm performing outside of my role, all the things that I know that they actually needed to do. But most people, like most managers, don't want to give up the control because then you can get laid off. But I didn't give a shit. So I delegated everything except like, I had to lead certain meetings or decisions had to be made. So of course I would do those things, but everything else I got rid of. And of course, the problem with that is like they're thinking, what do we need you for? Like your team is doing everything. Like you can go on vacation for a long time. And I'm like, yeah, and everything went fine, right? But anyway, that's why I got laid off, I think.
That's hilarious. I mean, that's like, it's kind of like what a manager's job, at least I would assume that's a manager's job. Like you make sure everything is going well and make sure you're empowering your team.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. That's
So
funny.
anyway, yeah, that's how you quiet quit in a really good way. And then eventually you can get laid off. So don't
Very
listen
nice.
to me. All right. So let's hit some of the other like key points. And again, we encourage people to check out the first interview. Some other things will be in more depth there. But keyword wise, how do you do keyword research? I think it's a pretty interesting approach, kind of counterintuitive from other folks.
Yeah. So keyword research for me is it's a specific breed of dog. So keyword research, like my keywords are kind of limited, right? So I'm attacking everything, which does kind of make it easy because like if I see it, I'm going to write about it. Doesn't matter how many, like, how the competition is. I only have, I have 170 blog posts. And I just did I got a month-long subscription to Ahrefs. I sniped all of my competitors to see like, what am I missing? And I got like 50 blog post ideas. But still that's only going to put me at like 220 or 230. So yeah, I mean, so I'm taking everything. And usually it's, I'm just letting for the most part, letting Google autocomplete. I'm doing that. People also ask. I spend a lot of time on Facebooks. So like with certain dog breeds, Facebook groups are massive. So just like hanging out there and seeing what questions people are always asking, and then just looking at the comments, that's been huge for me. And also just like, doing research for the articles. Like once I have a a keyword, I'll just plug that into the Facebook group, and boom, I have like my top 10 like most frequently asked questions about that topic. And I'll be able to get a gauge for what people think is like best practices for that, or true for that. So yeah, I mean, Google autocomplete Ahrefs once a year, or once every 2 years, and then spending a lot of time in Facebook is pretty much my only strategy.
Okay. And I kind of remember in some of our conversations in the past, you don't really care about search volume, right? So to the point that you were making, like
For the
you
most
should
part,
cover it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been interesting. Some of my like really low search volume posts have been getting backlinks. So I'm assuming that that's just helping my site in general. Even though they're not bringing in any money, they're not bringing in any traffic. Some of them are bringing backlinks, and
Interesting.
that's obviously worth it right there.
Okay. And my hunch is someone is writing an article, they're looking for a reference, and then it's so specific that you're what pops
I'm the
up.
only one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Interesting.
that's what I think too.
Okay. Cool. And I think I think that covers it for keywords. And I want to move to content. You mentioned, going to Facebook groups to do some research and stuff. Can you talk about the writing process? And I think it's important to mention uh, either your team of writers or how you get the content and that sort of stuff. So I'll kind of leave the floor open for you to talk about it.
So I have, it's a dog blog, and I have a dog trainer. I have two dog trainers now. And they write for me. I'm publishing once a week, sometimes twice a week, sometimes once a month. Whenever they get stuff to me, but they are tackling the more technical stuff. Because I don't want to be, the whole ethics thing. I don't want to be just kind of like, making stuff up, or like, just compiling, the top 10 blog posts, about a certain topic. So I've hired dog trainers to write for me, and they do a fantastic job. How I found them on other dog training sites, and I just kind of reached out to them like, hey, like, do you want to write for my site? And then once I got one, I said, hey, do you know any other people who want to write? So that's how I found them. And so, yeah, so they do, right now I just say we have a Google Sheets sheet, and there's like, 20 topics on there. It's like, tackle them whenever you want. So that's our process. It is definitely not a rigorous process.
Mhm.
It's not the most strict one, but it works for me, and it works for them. And so they write the articles, and then I go proofread them, and sometimes I'll simplify because they're dog trainers, they're in the weeds. But yeah, so that's one way that I publish content, but also for the stuff that I can write about, like best toys, because I've got a dog, and I'll just like what are his like favorite toys and stuff. So that stuff I'll write, and I really put a lot of focus on the first paragraph, and like making sure that I'm like setting myself up for success. And so that when they come to my blog post, they know, okay, this is what I'm here for. And then just, writing out my, 3 to 7 main points, and then kind of filling those in one by one, and then just making sure that it flows right. It sounds good. Trying to write for people, not so much the Google algorithm, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty, everything that I do is pretty simple.
Okay. And you have 170 articles. How many did you personally write, would you say?
Probably 120.
Okay, cool. And one thing I remember from the first interview is you started the blog, and I think you published about 12 articles in the first year. Is that right?
That is correct.
And then you got a little traction, and then you thought, I better work on this more. And then you started writing on a regular basis.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And I want to emphasize that. So we're jumping in. How old's the site, Jake?
It is 3 years. Sorry. So just to clarify on numbers here,
Yeah.
I have written um, out of how many do we have here? We got 169 total, and I have written like 100 and try not to mess up my microphone here. I've written 134. So
Okay, perfect. And yeah, because we're jumping in, the site's 3 years old. You're, kind of working on some other stuff too. So you have writers primarily working on it now. Occasionally, it sounds like you're writing, but in the beginning, for a really long time, you wrote you wrote all the content until you hired them. Okay, got it.
Yeah. For the first 2.5 years. Yeah.
Okay. And one thing I want to ask about, and it comes up all the time, and you're one of the people that I actually reference. People ask about AI tools, like, hey, can I use AI tools? And I'm like, you can use them, but I still haven't run across anyone who's doing really well. All the people that I talk to that are making like a full-time income, or sort of they're doing well, right? They're making 5K or more per month. They wrote the content themselves, or they wrote it and then started hiring a couple people to help out. Yeah. Any thoughts on AI writers? Have you dabbled with them? What's your stance?
So I have not dabbled, and for my blog specifically, I only have potentially a couple hundred blog posts to write, and so I am definitely in the quality over quantity. So I'm not, this blog isn't going to have 2, 3, 4,000 blog posts on it. It's only going to have a couple hundred, and so I really need to make sure that those are the best possible. And I'm kind of going the opposite. Instead of having a robot, I'm having a real dog trainer write it now. So I am definitely a fan of quality over quantity. Yeah, and from what it sounds like, if you're doing AI, then you're going for quantity over quality. I would assume, or maybe just finding a ton of keywords that are like really low traffic and like just a lot of low hanging fruit. I would assume that's the play there, but no, I'm going for quality.
That
What are
makes
your thoughts
sense.
on quality versus quantity?
I tend to agree with you. And as I've, tried to do, actually earlier this year on Niche Site Project, I tried to do, it wasn't AI. I got actually hired writers to do this, but it was a quantity play, low competition, and it should have worked okay, but it did not. It did not. It did not work at all. Completely failed. I don't think I've covered it on the show very much yet, but it's on my list. I'm doing a whole series on my failures and mistakes. Unfortunately,
Nice.
there's several in the last year, right? But the interesting thing is it didn't work at all, and it on paper it should have, and I saw it work in other ways. I'm not sure where I goofed up, to be honest with you. But as far as the, specifically on the AI writers, I think people are maybe starting to use them a little better. But again, I still haven't found anyone who says, I'm making whatever 5 or 10K per month, and I'm primarily using these tools. Maybe they don't want to tell people that they're successful, so there's less competition. But there's just a lot of people that are promoting the tools. I mean, I started to play with them, and I actually have affiliate links with them too, because people keep asking. So I'm like, well, I need to check it out. And if I may as well earn money from it, right? So if someone's going to use the affiliate link and test it out, that's cool. But there are a lot of people promoting the tools. So maybe if there's a specific use case, I could see it maybe for ads. Like you said, you did media buying before and like some ads and stuff. So, if you need a ton of different iterations on the same thing, that could save you a lot of time. But
Mm-hmm.
if someone's trying to compete with your site where you actually have a dog trainer, right? And then you edit it versus someone who uses an AI tool and then maybe they edit it and they don't have a dog. Like, yours is going to be better, and they're probably not going to be able to rank against you. So,
That's what I'm hoping.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I'm
yeah.
paying a lot, and I'm not posting that much right now. Paying these dog trainers a good amount, and then I'm spending a lot of time going through it. But I'm really trying to play the long game, um, and then like, hopefully I'll have this blog for the next 5 years, 10 years. And hopefully, these blog posts that I'm creating today are going to be ranking for 10 more years. Some of my most popular blogs now I wrote 3 years ago.
Wow.
And I hope that they're going to be the most popular, 5 years from now. So I think that even though, I'm not cranking out a ton of content, I'm not using AI to maybe, speed things up or make things a little cheaper. I'm spending more time, more money on it. But the hope is that it's going to be here forever. And even if my cost is triple of what my competitors are, hopefully I'll be ranking number one, and I'll be ranking number one for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Right. And I like the long-term view. And, if you play it out a little bit, let's say income grows, more traffic, blah, 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 and then you sell it in a few years, it could be, $500,000 because you're also adding other assets that your competitors don't have, like the ebook and YouTube, which is a good time to transition. So what's been going on with YouTube? So you're a bit of a nerd there, and you were like, hey, I want to start a channel. So yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so I started the dog blog because I wanted to learn SEO, and then I added a YouTube channel because I wanted to learn about YouTube. And at first, it really sucked because I was doing like talking head videos, and it was just crappy, and I hated it. I got burned out actually. I was so like this happened right after I quit, like probably 3 weeks after I quit. I was recording a video. I was like sitting in this room right here, talking to the camera, and I couldn't get words out. Like I could not say literally a single sentence. And I was like, all right, that's it. I'm not making YouTube videos anymore. I'm just going to go back to blogging. And my my wife was pissed at me. She's like, "Oh, you just quit your job for this, and now you're not doing this anymore, huh?" And I was like, "I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out." But yeah. So I started the dog YouTube channel. A lot of it is just turning like blog posts into YouTube videos. And it's like it's a faceless channel. It's just right now it's a voiceover. So I figured out a way that I don't have to be on camera. I'm just reading a script. I got an editor in Pakistan who's editing the videos for me, and people would probably rather look at cute clips of dogs than my face, which is a win-win. I'm happy. I don't want to be on camera. People are happy. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
So that's the YouTube channel. And the reason I wanted to learn more about YouTube is I recently started actually not recently, like a year and a half ago, I started a newsletter about YouTube titles. So all I do is study YouTube titles, very specific, but people seem to like it. And it was just, so I was at my previous job, I was managing the blog and the YouTube channel. And so every Monday morning we would have a content meeting, and I would come. So I was a content manager, and we had fishing coaches. So I would talk to the fishing coaches, and I'd be like, "Hey, these are some good ideas. Like this is working for other channels. I bet we could do this for our channel." So, for instance, we had a podcast, or my boss is on a podcast about newbie hunting gear, and he was like, "Well, let's do newbie fishing gear," and that did really well for us. So I started looking at, like, all right, cool, like 5 mistakes for training your dog. Well, let's do for our fishing channel 5 mistakes for catching redfish or something. So just really trying to figure out, okay, this worked in another niche. How can we model this for ours? So I was doing that internally. It worked really well for our channel. And then I turned that into a newsletter, like, hey, here, 5 videos that are working for other channels. Here's how you could use it. And people have seemed to like it. And that's been really cool. Especially starting a newsletter. I am, knock on wood, hopefully relatively algorithm proof, where, obviously unless, Apple or Gmail or someone wants to mess up with my email service provider, or, email open rates or whatever it is. But yeah, this is kind of like a diversification against algorithms.
Got it. Okay. Very cool. And I don't know if I remember the specifics of like why you started analyzing this stuff, but that makes perfect sense. And yeah, I'm signed up for that newsletter. It took me a while to actually sign up for it. I always forget. And then finally I was like, oh yeah, I need to get in there. But it's actually super helpful. And that's what we're going to talk about more in our other episode coming up. But yeah, it's pretty cool because I think, I mean, if you're into YouTube and you actually create videos, it's like directly, like you could use it immediately. And I find myself doing the same thing that you mentioned where I like, I'm watching all these like guitar videos or like some other unrelated thing to marketing. And I'm like, that's a great title. And then once you get used to it, you kind of have an intuition where you're like, oh, here's the template. It's like X result in X amount of time without doing a hard thing. Like that's a classic one, but there's like whatever, 20 other like kind of formulas.
The truth about,
right. And
there's so many.
It's
and
very
it's just
cool.
like with the newsletter, I'm just like studying what makes people click. So it's all about psychology. And I've been using a lot of that for my, my blog titles, for like my sub headlines, and like for my intros too. Like if I need inspiration for my blog post intro, I will look at, I'll watch YouTube videos and see like what they said, and like see how like they caught attention, how they grabbed your attention. Yeah, I mean it's all psychology. No matter what it is, Twitter, email subject line, YouTube title, blog post. So that's been super cool for me.
Cool. And before we wrap it up, we are coming close on the time here. Your YouTube channel for the dog blog sounds like it was driving some significant revenue. So can you talk about the success there? Any videos blow up or anything?
Yeah, I had one video blow up. It was pretty much like about things humans do that dogs hate, and that it blew up and it kind of carried my channel. So I went from about 35 to 40,000 views a month for like most of 2021 and the first half of 2022, and then in like July I got like 350,000 views. So at about 10x, which was great. And that was really what helped me go from like making 5,000 or 6,000 a month to making like 9,000 or 10,000 a month was YouTube. A lot of it, like we talked about earlier, was the ebook there. My ebook revenue about tripled or so during that time. And then, and also it was just, I was growing my email list. And I sent out all my blog posts to my email list, so that was also driving traffic to my blog. So that all that helped.
Very cool. And anything else that you think is interesting that I didn't ask you about that people should keep in mind? Maybe if they're trying to grow their first site, or they're in a spot, maybe they're like sort of plateaued at like $500 a month or something like that. So any broad tips or thoughts you want to share?
Something I've been thinking about a lot recently is consistency and longevity. And I know this is like super boring. It's like definitely not what you want to hear if you're stuck at $500 a month, but just keep doing it. I've kind of gone and come back to the blog, and I kind of publish in sprints a little bit. Right now I'm a sprint away from the blog, but probably at the end of this year, I'll be back into a sprint. And it's just, if like you look at my traffic and my revenue over the last 3 years, just slowly going up, but it always goes up. So that's been great. So I'm just really trying to think about how can I publish on this blog forever? How can I not burn out? And just keep going. And even if you're stuck, you're not going to be stuck forever. Just keep going. And something will pop, and then you'll finally get it, and then or the algorithm will finally smile on you, and your site will blow up.
Awesome, Jake. It's always fun to talk to you. Where should people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at jthomas__. You can also just search Jake Thomas on Twitter, and you'll see me with a cute golden retriever, and that'll be me. Or at creatorhooks.com if you're interested in YouTube titles, but it's really just the psychology of what makes people click, and that was creatorhooks.com.
Yep. And like I said, I'm on that that email list for creator hooks. And the thing that's cool is it's it's built in a summary format. So there's no BS in there. It's just like, here's the core information, as opposed to YouTube where like it could be like a 10-minute video with 30 seconds of real information. I mean, that's basically all my channel is. But Creator Hooks has like exactly what you need in a summarized format. So yeah, I definitely encourage people to check it out. Even if you don't have a YouTube channel, you'd be able to use those ideas for your blog titles or in social media or something else. Like it is more sort of marketing and psychology focused, I would say. So
Definitely.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Doug.